start with Dr. Shanti. Dr. Shanti, you are the CEO of such a bigger organization. You are sitting on the top and you face all the brand. So how did you face this challenge of employee attrition when people never wanted to come because the scare in the beginning was so much? Nobody wanted to leave their homes and come to the job. And here the number of patients was on rise and we needed manpower. So how did you ensure their safety? How did you make them sure that they will be safe here? How did you motivate them? What were the challenges that you faced, Dr. Shanti?
Sure. Thank you, Renu. Thank you for the nice words. Yes, you are true that we face a lot of challenges while dealing with this pandemic. Uh, Earlier, there was a pandemic which happened in 1919, 1920. So this was a first for all of us. We never knew what is in store for us. Everybody was so frightened of, they didn't know where is it coming, what is coming. It came as a thunderbolt from nowhere. We all were gearing up for this since February. We were hearing that these stories were going on. If you remember, a similar situation happened when swine flu was around, and we were working in the ICUs then also, and everybody was so fearful of a swine flu. So my personal experience in my hospital, I had almost 10% of my staff who absconded as soon as the lockdown was announced. And I had a full capacity hospital then. Trust me, I had to go to each and every employee who was working there, whether it was a front desk employee, whether it was a ward boy, a sweeper in the hospital, nursing staff who are the backbone of the hospital, the RMOs, the resident medical officers, the consultants, everyone, clinicians, everyone didn't know what to do. Now the staff just vanished, and we had to ask people absolutely with folded hands that you need to put in more hours. But in that, we told them that your safety will never be compromised. I understand that because we didn't have that many PPEs which were being supplied to the hospital, we never had. But if you remember, we are doing HIV and HBsAg cases as well. So we used to have those kits. You know, we had a lot of inventory of those kits. So I brought out that inventory. I brought out all of that inventory, and whatever was there in the market. For this, I was preparing from January, to tell you the truth. I prepared my disposable, reusable cloth masks, caps, shoe covers in January. I started this preparation in January. And when March this was announced, I was so relieved because everybody was looking for gloves and personal protective equipment, and I had some by then. But to tell you the truth, by the time May came in, we were also sort of supplies. The supplies really vanished, and vendors started sort of, you know, blackmailing us. They said that we have to pay in full in advance, then only we can get the safety gear that I needed for my staff. And without that safety gear, my staff would have never come in and joined the hospital to take care of any patients. I'm not even talking of COVID patients here. I'm talking of normal patients. We had to segregate our OPDs. We created a special outdoor sitting area for my OPD patients. My OPD attendance is huge, and I had to create a huge OPD area for them to sit outside. They needed to come one by one to our screening area, be screened, and then go in. So that all these things gave my employees the confidence. And by April, my employees started coming back. Even the absconded employees, they started coming back, and they knew that they will be taken care of. Plus, I was talking to all my employees, whether it was my nurses, sweepers, ward boys, front office people, people who are in the OTs, operation theaters, people in the background, maintenance people. What if all maintenance guys went away? So I was talking to, my whole day was only counseling, communications. telling them that you are safe, we will keep you safe, be with us. And mind you, at that point in time, I didn't have a single COVID patient in my hospitals because we were not allowed to keep COVID patients in general private hospitals. It was only in the government hospitals that the patients were there. So we didn't have any of those patients, and still all my emergency employees were so apprehensive. They were all wearing those gowns and the PPE kits that we had. By biomedical waste went up, it was huge. But in spite of that, I never asked anybody to compromise with the safety. I was personally standing in the emergencies. I was personally standing in the OPDs. Sort of, I would say I was walking the talk. It is not you who though I am not a clinician to be in the wards, but because I have an experience of being a clinician, so I stood there. I took care of some of the patients who walked into the emergencies. So here it was more setting an example that yes, it is safe. If she can be here, we can also be here. Of course, with all my mask and all my protective care. So that gave them a lot of confidence and collaborative communication, I would say. It was not only me who was communicative. I made leaders in various groups, and they were also communicating with their group that we are safe and we are in safe hands.
You're very right. Until unless we go out there and we become an example, we be there, then till then you cannot make them work, you cannot give them that confidence that you are safe there. So you came out to be a true leader in the sense. You walked the talk and you gave them an example of your own self. That if I can be there, then everybody can be there. Everyone knows that you love yourself the most. So it was like that. So I would like to next come to Captain